Yeah, I just want to say congratulations. I know your book has just hit the New York Times bestseller list. I think it was the number one book in Canada. And I see you on all the biggest and best podcasts in the world. And I'm just so happy to see the world finally waking up to your incredible ideas and IP. How does that feel at 78 years old? I was joking earlier that you're an overnight success.
Yeah, local boy makes good, it's very satisfying, and I also have to say this, my wife will tell you, it comes at a time when my ego won't run away with me completely, because had to come earlier, I might not have been able to handle it. But right now, you know what? I just think that the work that I've done, and not the work that I've done, but the work of many people that I'm able to synthesize and translate into language that people can relate to. The time has come for the world to pay attention, and not to me personally, but to the overall themes that I am engaged with.
And why do you think now that you're getting so much recognition? I mean, I know you haven't published a book in what, 3 or 4 years? And again,
Make that make that 13 years.
oh, 13 years. Wow, since you published. And again, I think you and I were talking earlier, people know your material through conversations you've had on independent media, including our show over the years. Maybe they were waiting for a good reason to have you on, and then you have this groundbreaking book that you've spent so much time on and co-wrote with your son. Was this just kind of a perfect storm for finally you being out in the open and being in the front pages?
Well, I think quite beyond me, in the last 10, 15 years, there's been increasing awareness on the part of more people that something is fundamentally wrong. As a society goes into crisis, which Western society clearly is facing, more people start looking for answers. They start looking for the roots of problems rather than just, how to deal with the symptoms. And so my work has coincided with that. And so, and when you say perfect storm, then in the aftermath of the COVID epidemic, which I know you've covered in from various angles, people are hurting. People are, should we go back to the normal? But then people say, well, what was the normal before? Wasn't so good, was it? So I think more people are asking questions. And so anybody who has some degree of answers and wants to delve into the deeper issues, like myself, we get some attention now.
Yeah. And you mentioned COVID. I think the last time you were on was April 2020. Everything was just starting to happen. You were in that room, I remember. We had never done a
Yeah,
remote episode before. Usually you're in London, in my studio
yeah.
in the chair right across from me. And you were talking about what you were trying to deal with there in Vancouver. And I know that was also a chance where you canceled all your travel arrangements and you actually had the chance to work on this book, and also see maybe all this additional trauma going on in the world because of all of that lockdown. Maybe talk a little bit about that and then jump into the book. I mean, the Myth of Normal really talks about these chronic disorders and these mental disorders that now seem to become normalized. But if you look back 100,000 years ago, it wasn't necessarily what we were experiencing as hunter-gatherers, was it?
No, it wasn't. Well, the pandemic, whatever side of the vaccine debate or the mandate debates one finds oneself on, but globally, the pandemic certainly revealed certain aspects of our society that we should have been aware of before, but we weren't paying maybe that much attention to. For one thing, didn't it just teach us how important human contact and communal uh, presence is? Didn't we just suffer because of the isolation? Now, whether you agree with the policies, I'm not getting into that debate now, but it certainly taught us the importance of each other, of the we that contains the me, and no, but on the other hand, loneliness has been rising in Western societies for decades, to the point that Britain, where you live, has had to appoint a minister for loneliness. And loneliness is as much of a risk factor for illness as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So COVID certainly brought that home, or ought to have brought it home. Then, when you look at who was most prone to get COVID, it did happen to be the most ostracized and least privileged segments of society, the Black, immigrant, colored populations of so-called colored in the States and also in the UK. They were more prone to get infected and to die of the infections. So again, the impact of inequality on health has been studied for decades in Britain by people like Sir Michael Marmot and Richard Wilkinson and others, and documented. The social gradient in health has been documented for a long time. COVID again brought it home. COVID also brought home, again, and no matter which side of the debate you might find yourself on, but the importance of looking for social solutions, for really working together to work our way out of a crisis. So all these factors have been, no, but on the one hand. On the other hand, COVID also increased the rate of people using drugs and addictions, which shows the role that trauma and stress plays in people's self-soothing behaviors. Under COVID, the incidence of child abuse went up. More children end up in emergency wards with injuries. Domestic violence went up. So again, the role of stress and the underlying trauma that get uncovered by a social crisis. There's many, many lessons in COVID that, looking back, we could have learned earlier, and perhaps we'll learn them now, but I'm not so sure that we will. But again, COVID highlighted some of the tensions and contradictions in what we call the normal.
The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.